I realized that I was not as sensitive as I had previously was, and this decrease of sensitivity manifested itself in me becoming brutal. I was not an angel. I turned into a brutal cop.
Tamir Rice, Freddie Gray, and so many more. As an artist, I just had to paint about it. As a white person, I had to ask, is America's criminal justice system in the 21st century racist?
This has to stop. This killing, I mean, whatever happened to shooting and stopping a person than to shoot to kill? The cops are not shooting to hurt you. They are shooting to kill. That's a problem for us mothers.
Yes, my son, it was on the news. It was on Patterson Park in Lawson. The 17-year-old boy that got ran over by the police car, that was my son.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
So Martin A. Davis. It was in the newspaper and all. And the sad thing about it is, I didn't get to see my son the whole day. I didn't even know his injuries were that bad. His head was big like a basketball, and I couldn't even identify him.
My son wanted to be a police officer at one time. Then after a while, he said no.
Really?
Yeah, either his life, he was scared his life would be in danger, or then he would be compromised to see things that wasn't right within the police system. So he just said no.
Yeah. I was a rookie, and I was working in an inner city ghetto, and I had stopped a white girl for going through a red light. Whenever you stop somebody for a car stop, you always have to call for a backup, because there's no such thing as a routine car stop. I'm writing up a ticket. The officer that comes to back me up, he comes up to my car, he sees me writing a ticket, and he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm writing her a ticket." She went through the red light and she denied doing it. So she didn't even have a good attitude. And he says, "What are you doing writing a white person a ticket with all these NIGGERS's here?"
Dad,
Yes?
where do babies come from anyhow?
The most awkward talk white parents have to have with their kids is about the birds and bees. It occurred to me that black parents have to have a much more difficult conversation. So I painted the talk.
The talk in the black community is about how to deal with the police, how to avoid them, how to avoid being brutalized by them. Because it showed the impression on the young child having to hear this. He was quite upset. He didn't know what to make of this. Very disturbing. And then the father with his hands up, and the father upset that he had to talk to his son about this. And then the mother reaching out, touching the child, trying to comfort him with touch contact. So, that reaching out to the son and touching him on his knee was like, "Hon, I know this is terribly upsetting, but we have to tell you this." That talk should never, ever have to happen.
Baby, who do you love? Yeah.
My 4-year-old, whenever he sees a police officer, he's like, "Mommy, is the police officer gonna kill us?" And I have to sit and have that conversation with my 4-year-old son that no, baby, all police officers aren't like that. They're not gonna hurt you. The majority of them will indeed help you if you need it. I just felt sad that I had to have that conversation with my 4-year-old son already. Like, that's not a conversation I want to have with my son. He's 4. That's not something he should have to worry about already.
Do you think white people have to have that conversation with their children?
I do not think that white people have to have that conversation with their children.
Check it out.
What's that? Oh.
Okay, that talk.
Yeah, that talk.
Okay. Did your parents give you the talk?
Oh, absolutely. My parents had the talk with me, and it wasn't just one day. It was over time of, if you go into a store, if you pick something up, you want to make sure that you are clear with it, like not to be like, oh, you put it in your pocket or whatever. Right. You don't want to be running in a mall type area. That was a big one.
Did your parents give you the talk?
My mother did give me the talk. Unfortunately, my father's in jail, so my parents can't give me the talk. She's basically like, when the cops stop you, you don't do anything. You don't say anything. You don't move. It's basically like a standstill, and you have to become their peasant and their slave.
Did your parents give you the talk when you were a young man?
It was talks. It was a series, it was talks. I mean, I'm old, and I grew up in a small segregated town in South Carolina. Things were very clear then as to what police meant, what white people meant, so it was kind of very obvious.
Okay, have your parents had the talk with you?
Yes, they have.
Could you tell me about it?
Yeah, sure. At a young age, they just taught me about how things were when they were coming up, and there were like a set of rules. I forgot what it was called. It's like black code sort of thing, like not to run at night, certain things like that. It was a lot of odd stuff I found odd, but as I grew older, I experienced it.
Did your parents give you the talk?
Oh, yeah. We always knew that the police when we were kids, the police were just, they were threats no matter what, but we never felt that they made us safe. In fact, when they were coming, we always felt unsafe. So that was just always our orientation, that the police are coming, oh shit. Didn't matter if we were doing something, we felt threatened by their presence. That's our experience. Parents told us be careful, police are coming. They didn't tell us, of course, if you're in trouble and the policeman's there, you run to them, but in most cases you run away from them. That's our experience.
I have definitely had to talk. We had this talk real early on in life, and it kind of was just like a do's and don't in society, as far as, when you get addressed by an officer, don't resist it, don't act in an aggressive manner.
Like at a young age, I saw racist police at elementary school. Like kids got into a fight. The cop was watching along with the neighbor, and he said, "Look, they're jumping them." Two black kids fighting, one started getting jumped, and he said, "What do you expect? They're niggers." And I to this day, that sticks with me. Like I tell my friends about this all the time. Like, I told them about it, his parents, everybody. So.
Well, did your parents give you the talk?
Yeah, you know what, not only did my parents give me the talk, I had to. My kids got the talk by watching me on national television, talking about these issues. So can you imagine being a little kid? My sons are now 7 and 12. Can you imagine being 5 years old and seeing your father on television talking about black children being killed by police? My talk was done through the television set, and so and frankly, the television set forced a lot of parents to have to talk about this. So this is now. YouTube is going to do the talk for your kid before you can. We've got to do something about this violence. But yes, I was given the talk.
Being a black kid in America, it could be tough. It could be a different story than somebody like your complexion. It could be a different world, so to speak, even if you're in the same community.
Did your parents give you that talk?
Not so much. We kind of lived it, so it wasn't a matter of having the conversation. Of course, I grew up in the 60s, so a lot of stuff in Washington, D.C., so a lot of stuff was happening right in my backyard.
You have to do what they say, and you have to do it accordingly. It's like a rule book, and if you don't do it, then consequences can vary.
Now, I have two sons. They're both grown now, but we had to have the talk with both of them. We told them how to behave around police, that you're going to encounter police, that when you go out with your friends, there's a special responsibility that you bear. You have to act differently. If police pull you over, your friends might mouth off to the police. You can't do that.
If I get pulled over and I get a ticket, I'm basically thanking the officer. Thank you, officer, as I take a ticket. Versus a lot of my friends, which are not my complexion, are like, "Oh, what is this? This is bullshit, officer, blah, 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 blah." They can get away with that. I can't. I've dealt with it in many different occasions.
If you get into a problem of any sort, just accept the situation and don't fight against it, because that could make things worse. How to talk to a police officer when you are pulled over was a big topic of discussion, so that, a normal traffic stop does not escalate out of control.
I stopped too long at a stop sign, so I got pulled over said that I looked like I was trying to solicit drug activity, all types of stuff.
I've dealt with it in this community. Just walking like to the basketball court, I got stopped because I fit the description of something that happened. You know what I mean? This is pretty basic attire. I didn't appear to be a threat, and I dealt with that here, so I'm no stranger to racism in the world, period.
So I've had the talk with my parents. They've prepped me for this. I'm gonna have the talk with my children, and I think everybody needs to have that talk, because if you act the wrong way with police, we see what happens in present society.
Thank you. Have you had any encounters with the police who didn't recognize who you were?
Yeah, I've been treated really badly. Yeah, I've been pulled over and cursed out and treated like shit. Yeah. You know, and then the guy, oh, that's Russell Simmons. The guy, oh, okay, let him go. Like, I've been through that. Yeah, I've had that experience a few times. I can only imagine, you know, having it all the time. You know, because I know lots of people in some communities, you know, are constantly being harassed. That's just the reality, you know. And where police feel like they're occupying, they feel like they got to keep a lid on it, you know, and they treat people poorly, and they don't have any recourse. So, of course, it's a constant for many people.
All right, you're familiar with the talk, then?
Yes, I was blown away by that. Blown away by that.
Did your parents give you the talk?
Yeah, absolutely.
They did?
And it was striking because they gave the talk with fear. They really had a fear for my safety. So it's one of those times where you know when your parents are serious, when you can see in their eyes how serious this conversation is.
When my boys were older, I had the conversation with them to say, okay, it's a lot different today, you know, but it isn't, you know, because the reality of it is, you know, it's much more subtle, racism is, and the opportunities to fall into that are just as great as they always were. You just, you know, you get comfortable and think, oh yeah, we've passed so many milestones. Well, attitudes are hard to change, and so that's the new reality for a lot of kids today.
I didn't want to just paint about the problem. I wanted to paint the solution. To embolden those good cops to break through that blue wall of silence. It's the only way that they can possibly earn the trust of the communities that they're sworn to protect. To find out, I took my art to the streets.
We're following the breaking news in Baltimore. Appeals for calm tonight. The city on edge with a mistrial declared in the case of a police officer charged in the death of Freddie Gray, the young man who suffered a broken neck in police custody.
I want to introduce you to Michael D'Antonio. You are from New York City, and you are an artist. What brought you to the city of Baltimore?
Well, seeing so many cops getting away with murder, literally, and here in Baltimore, it's a special case. And I did this painting called "It Stops with Cops." The point is, they say that there are many good cops, but good cops don't let bad cops kill defenseless citizens.
Yeah, how about that? Take a picture of that.
Move back! Move back! Move back! Move back! Move back! Move back!
So I'm trying to get those good cops out there to step forward. If a good cop had said something and known something about this particular case, perhaps we'd have a verdict today.
It shouldn't be no racism. You know, everybody should be treated fairly. You know, I mean, regardless, I'm black and you white. You know, that don't mean nothing. We both boys. We both could be kids. We could be the same age, same kind of person. Just because I'm black and you're white, don't mean that you should be able to do certain things or be treated a certain way.
We have nothing to lose but our shame. As loud as you can, it is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to win.
It is our duty to win.
We must love and support each other.
We must love and support each
Although Black lives do matter, but we're not going to solve this problem. It's going to take all of us, one uniting human race, to solve this problem.
Make it happen! Unite! Unite! Unite!
I love your shirt. Your shirt says, "It stops with cops." I think that's one of the most powerful statements. The good cops should stop the bad cops. Thank you very much, sir.
Unfortunately, Mike, I don't see a great possibility in the problems in the police departments being stopped by other cops stopping these things. You have officers that if they did go out on a limb, they're going to lose their job, that they'll be forced to quit.
So could it stop with cops or not? Well, the one thing we know for sure is that for those lucky enough to survive arrest, the unbridled brutality continues in prisons across America. At the Fishkill Correctional Facility in upstate New York, Samuel Harrell, a handcuffed inmate, was beaten to death by as many as 20 corrections officers. 1 year later, all of the officers remain in active duty.
It's hard for me to imagine what his last thoughts were. I myself was a victim of abuse by corrections officers. While my teeth were getting kicked in, all I could think of was how hopeless I felt and that I was gonna die here and that nobody would know the truth about what really happened.
He was put into solitary confinement. He wasn't handled properly, okay? And it led all the way up to him getting handcuffed, and I've heard horrendously, he was beaten, he was thrown downstairs. I mean, he was just treated like an animal. And we had taught him doing things once you got out. Dad, I'm gonna do this. Dad, I want to do that. I never will have the opportunity to do that with him now.
Hey kids, come here, man. I want to ask you a question. What do you want to be when you grow up?
A basketball star.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
A president.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
A inventor.
One in 3 African American males will go to prison in their lifetime. There are more African Americans incarcerated in the U.S. than the total prison populations of England, Israel, Finland, Germany, Japan, Canada, Argentina, Lebanon, and India combined. The reason roughly a third of all African American males will be at some point behind bars is the same reason we used to have slavery. Money. Prison privatization is a booming multi-billion-dollar industry. These prisons, along with companies supplying services and goods to them, and corporations exploiting cheap convict labor, spend millions lobbying politicians to create drug laws and other legislation designed to keep those facilities full. The fact that the prison population being enslaved and exploited is so disproportionately made up of people of color makes you wonder, is mass incarceration the new slavery?
You know, I've done 39 years in the penitentiary. I went to state penitentiary through this courthouse here in 1968. I was one of the 123 black juvenile boys.
Well, you went to prison for 16 years.
For 16 years and 5 months.
And how were you able to get, once you got out, were you able to find work?
I found work, but it's hard, you know what I mean? And that's the penalty of having a record like that, a felony. You know what I mean? You got to struggle. And I'm still struggling right now today. That's why when I was, I'm out here every day looking for a job.
I've been convicted for the crime, murder that I didn't commit. And I was very, very angry because of that.
I was a basketball star. I was an algebra expert, but at that time, my spirit was free and my mind was absorbing information. When I went in prison as a child and got to dealing with those adult conditions, I stopped studying and just became hard.
Are the inmates treated fairly by the corrections officers?
Well, with the correction officers and how they treat us less than human. You have one incident, and when they want to restrain you of an incident, 10 of them might come and jump you, beat you up, harass you. I mean, literally to the point where they doing bodily harm,
Really?
to the point of death.
You've seen that?
Oh, I have seen that over and over and over again.
They put these laws down where the black juvenile boys in Baltimore City would be treated categorically as adults for any kind of crime.
When you got a record, you got to find somebody that's ex-offender friendly. They don't mind if you got a record, and they'll hire you. They'll give you a chance. You just got to look for jobs like that'll give you a second chance.
Is there racism in the prison?
Oh, absolutely. Racism was well and alive in there, and some of the officers will use the white population to get the white population to attack the black population. They will give them knives, they will give them razors just to attack the black population. So yes, racism is definitely well and alive in corrections.
Still taking one day at a time, Still here, that's why I was born and raised in Baltimore. I'm just trying to make just a normal life for myself.
Well, there are always two sides to every story. So just to be fair and balanced, we figured we'd visit with a retired corrections officer and hear what she had to say. Have you ever seen an officer fired for misconduct?
Yes.
Do you know what
I've seen a few. But if you're in that clique with them, they're going to save you. But you have a lot of unfair, unjust going on behind those walls. A lot of families don't know how their families are being treated behind the wall. And if you have no family, you're screwed.
So how would you improve the prison system?
In my opinion, I do not believe the prison system can be fixed because it's broke from the top, it's broke from the bottom. It's broke from the bottom all the way up to the top, it's broke.
Land of the free, justice for all? Whether it's on the streets or in the prisons, systemic racism continues to pervade our criminal justice system, robbing people of color their dignity, opportunities, freedom, and even their lives. We can't change our shameful past, but we must change their future. What did you tell your kids when, if they were going out for the weekend, out for the night? If there's any trouble, what did you tell them?
Be careful, though. I don't even think in those days we didn't have to tell them anything.
You call the police?
Yeah, call the police.
Yeah, if anything's happened to you, call the police.
And now you
They're
can't
your
do
friend.
Look for the police.
They are your friend.